Crank it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white and raise hell. We back the badge, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
All right, good morning. Let us get started right here on Unfiltered. Strictly speaking, Unfiltered, that is. There we go, Dylan. Thank you. Drop that image off the screen. Put that image back up there for a second. Why not? Yeah, let it sit there for another minute. You see that guy right there? Yeah, that's a United States Senator. Sent me a text message on Saturday while I was in Tennessee with my family, giving my wife a birthday weekend visit with her daughter, who also happens to be my daughter. And it was a fantastic time. And I was at Dollywood. And I got a text message from Senator Moreno. And the senator is very, very excited and proud of the fact that we are going to get there, it would appear, with reconciliation. I am a little bit less confident about that. By the way, you also see on that screen, Senator Moreno is going to join us at 8:30 this morning. I threw up a bunch of the topics on the left side there. There's no deal with Iran, President Trump, that reconciliation deal. Eric Swalwell gone. Remember the guy said I wanted to throat punch? Apparently he throat punched himself, which is a really amazing thing. And Jonathan Broadbent's going to be here in about 25 minutes to talk about the new Republican Party rising, what we're going to do to get rid of the radical rhinos. So, all right, you can drop that off there, Dylan. So I got this text message from Senator Moreno. There we go. On Saturday. Oh, correction. This is Friday. That's right. Friday. We got there Thursday. Friday was Dollywood. Sorry. So I got this from Senator Moreno that said the plan is finally set to get completed. Talking about what he came on this program a week ago and told us is, the mission. The mission is to, of course, get DHS fully funded with the current funding measures that the Democrats were not necessarily objecting to, but then to get ICE and CBP funded for longer than that. And so he sent me this text message, complete with President Trump's Truth Social post from that day, which basically says, I've met with Senate leaders and some in the House as well, and this is going to happen. We're going to do this, and I need that reconciliation bill on my desk by the end of May. By June 1st, we'll get it done, we'll get it signed, and we'll get, long-term funding for our border protectors and our ICE agents who are trying to clear these dangerous people out of our communities. So I was like, can you talk about it with me? Can we do this on Monday? And he said, yes, sir. And here he is. He'll be with us in about, like I said, an hour and a half. He'll be joining us at 8:30 this morning. So having said that, we've got to talk about what is pressing for the immediate future here. And we're going to dive right into the news. But first, let me just say good morning to the chatters who are up and early and at it. I like to see that already. Crank it up, let it roll, says Yo Jimbo. Dylan is Dylan is, of course, working with us, but he's in the chat as well, trying to participate and be as much as I love the dancing emojis you guys put whenever I play the opening song, which is just all kind of cool. But I do see everybody there. I'm not going to run down everybody's name, but I'm going to say good morning to each and every one of you. Hey, if you are if you're an insider, a strictly speaking, unfiltered insider on the locals community, which you can be, by the way, by clicking that join button underneath the video screen. If you're watching on Rumble now, you may be watching on one of four places. We've opened it up to X too. I never get a lot of, I've never done a live stream really on X other than when we're playing one as live like we did on Friday when I was, like I said, traveling. But now you can watch this live stream on either Rumble, which continues to be the hub. You can watch it live on Facebook, Strictly Speaking with Bob Fran's Facebook page. You can watch it on YouTube, same thing, Strictly Speaking, and you can now watch it on X as well. We're going to put it in four places, even though I know that dilutes the audience, and the goal is to get more and more people to the hub, which is Rumble, because that's where the chat is, that's where the active chat is, where a bunch of people are right now, and that's what I want. And I'm just trying to get it out there to more places to get more people to join. I know it might be kind of counterintuitive to spread it out and dilute the message to a number of different platforms, but I want more people to know about the Rumble side of things. So if you're on X, if you are on Facebook, go to those places and share the live stream and tell people, hey, it's on Rumble, and share the link there. Because I'm always telling you to share the link on your text contact list, your email contact list, and so forth. Get onto, get onto the social media channels and platforms where the show is also streaming, and tell people to check it out and get into the chat on Rumble. It'll really help our growth prospects, okay? So Bernie Moreno is coming up. Jonathan Broadbent's coming up in about a half an hour, but I have a lot to do between now and then. First of all, it is the 13th morning of the fourth month in the year of our Lord 2026. Flip quote a day calendar says, or quote a day flip calendar, maybe is a better way to say that. The difference between the impossible and the possible lies in a man's determination. That came from the brilliant mind of Tommy Lasorda, former manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right. I always like to start with a good inspirational quote of the day. What we're going to start with now, though, excuse me, again, is an update on where we are. President Trump took to Truth Social this morning. Dylan, throw this up there. It should be at the top of the list. President Trump took to, actually, this is yesterday morning, to update you as to where it is. J.D. Vance was dispatched to Islamabad, Pakistan, to negotiate with the Iranian leaders to try to get an agreement to open up the Strait of Hormuz and end some of the hostilities and to ensure that Iran will never get a nuclear weapon. He came back without a deal and told everybody why. President Trump did too on Truth Social. As you can see on your screen right now, we'll just read through that. So there you have it, wrote President Trump. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. Effective immediately, the United States Navy, and we got to get the right, there we go. That's a Dylan thing. Okay, now you lost my place because you scrolled up too far there, Dylan. Let it sit in the middle until I need to scroll up, would you? Or I'll just read it off of my own. That's okay. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that was really mattered was nuclear was not. Effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, at some point, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being, awkwardly worded, at some point we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis. But Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion. And leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I've also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. We will also begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell, all caps. Iran knows better than anyone how to end this situation, which has already devastated their country. Their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Khamenei and most of their leaders are dead, all because of their nuclear ambition. The blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved in this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off of this illegal act of extortion. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. President Donald J. Trump. Okay. So this is a moment. This is a very, very real moment. President Trump is basically going to try to beat the Iranians at their own game. They're the ones who have blockaded the Strait of Hormuz to stop ships from coming in, loading up, and coming out. 20% of the world's oil, for whatever reason that may be. We've got just as much oil here and access to it, particularly with Venezuela as well. It doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. 20% of the world's oil is accessed through that strait. And they have blocked it, have the Iranians. President Trump said, fine. They've blocked it basically with the exception of the ships that they will allow through paying that toll. All right. They call it a toll. President Trump called it a toll. I call it a ransom because it is. It is holding nations for ransom because they need that oil. They need that energy. They have, including a lot, by the way, of our geopolitical enemies like China and especially China. They need the strait open again so that they can get full access to oil. They are in an energy crisis in Red China. Okay. But it's all countries that rely on oil coming from or coming through anyway, the Strait of Hormuz. So President Trump said, fine, you're going to blockade everybody except for those who pay you money. we're going to blockade those people who pay you money. Nobody's coming through. You're not going to get rich. You're not going to collect bounties, ransoms, tolls, if you will, to have people come in there and take oil out when you won't let the rest of us come in and get it. And again, not us, because we don't need it. We get a very scant percentage of American used oil. It comes by way of the Strait. But we're not going to let our neighbors and our allies and our friends and so forth in European countries and more have to pay that toll. So we're going to block anybody that is trying to go in to get it from you. So this is kind of a game of chicken. And President Trump believes he's got all the cards to win that game. And you know what? He's right. But the problem is that strait is not the only place where oil can be accessed. There are other nations that have kind of control of waterways that may be, well, let's just say Iran might be interested in taking control of in order to let ships load up there as well. So there is a game of chicken being played here right now. President Trump, again, I believe has all of the power because what is Iran to do? I mean, in all seriousness, he's right, what he said. It's devastating. Did you read my email yesterday? I actually wrote it on Thursday into Friday. So as I said in the beginning of the newsletter, and hopefully you are receiving that. If you're not getting Strictly Speaking this week, the newsletter, you should be subscribing to it. And if you have not yet subscribed to it, just send me an email. We'll get you subscribed. Bob@strictlyspeaking.org. Bob@strictlyspeaking.org. And those of you who are subscribed to it, forward it. Forward the email on to other people and tell them, hit that red bar at the button there that says subscribe, and they'll get it too. But as I said, things may have changed on the grounds come Sunday when this hits your inbox. That would have been yesterday morning at 6 a.m. But as of the time I was writing this Thursday and Friday, we were still in the negotiation phase, the one that Vice President Vance went to in Islamabad. They negotiated for 21 hours, and there was some hope, you know. But as I laid out in my newsletter, I kind of tried to cover all the bases. Why we are where we are, focused heavily on Marco Rubio's wonderful explanation of what Iran was doing and why this was the last best chance to try to stop them from becoming a nuclear weapon power, if you will. I don't like to say nuclear power. It's more than that. It's weaponry. But between that, the ceasefire deal that never was, but there's still the reason for optimism. Again, all of the panicans, I know they like to use that term on Fox News, President Trump coined it, but among all of those who are freaking out about this, in all seriousness, we have to recognize the amount of accomplishments that we have been able to achieve or to accomplish, a little redundant there, in just a matter of a month or so. Everything President Trump talked about and then some. Iran is in no position to bargain. Iran is on the verge of complete and total, collapse, if not obliteration. Not the type that we talk about civilizationally and trying to kill all of the, civilians. No, not that at all. But as a regime, they are on the verge of collapse. We hold the power. We hold all the cards. It's just a matter of when and how we want to play them. And so that is what is going on right now. Like I said, the Iranians say no deal. They obviously, are going to try to play hardball here. They probably didn't expect President Trump to pull this card, but we're going to blockade. We're going to beat you to the blockade. You're blockading, foreign ships from coming in and loading up with oil and coming on out, except for the ones that are paying you the extortion, the ransom, the toll. Well, we're going to blockade them, and you're going to sit there high and dry with nothing. See, this is what the Obama administration and the Democrats did not understand. They didn't understand that the best way to bring a rogue nation to heel isn't to give them more money. It is to choke off their supply of money, stop them from being able to build more drones, build more ballistic missiles, build more conventional weaponry. Stop giving them the money to enrich uranium and all of the other things, and suddenly you'll be amazed at how quick they are to make deals. But they didn't understand that because the Obama administration and then the Biden administration gave them billions, plural, of dollars, or unfroze billions in assets so that they could then do those things and to export terror, to fund the Hamas and to fund the Houthis and to fund the Hezbollah and everything else. That's what this is all about. There's a strategic game here. We were losing under Obama. We were losing under Biden, and we are winning under Trump. And that's really, really important. All right, let's go to the next clip. Dylan, President Trump talking about the Strait. And again, what he, I kind of quoted him a little bit there with all in or all out or everybody in, everybody out kind of thing. Go ahead and throw that one up there, Dylan, if you would, please. And let's listen to President Trump. This was, there we go. No. That's not the one I'm talking about. The second one down. I believe it should be the second one down. It's President Trump with Maria Bartiromo. Dylan, you got it? Okay, you do. Okay. All right, let's play this clip and listen to what President Trump said to Maria yesterday so you have an idea. Because I want you to, by the way, not only have an idea what's going on over there, but most importantly, how is it impacting right here? I was on that trip to Tennessee, like I said, and $4.19 a gallon is what I paid most of the way. $4.19. $4.19. Think I'm happy about that? Made a nice trip, much more expensive than it should have been. I want to know how long this is going to take, too. We all do. We want to win. We want to make sure Iran is not a nuclear weaponry power. We want to make sure that the Middle East is more stable. And thus, which of course is extremely important for national security here. But we also want this thing over so that we can get our energy prices back to normal. So I experienced that over the weekend, and anybody else who's driving is doing the same thing. Hell, if you're on your commute right now, you're experiencing that. So let's listen to what the president said.
Is saying that we will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. And at some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in and all being allowed to go out basis. Right. So tell us what you're trying to accomplish with this blockade,
all in,
sir.
All out. Yep. It's called all in and all out. There'll be a time when we'll have them all come in and all come out, but it won't be a percentage. It won't be a friend of yours like a country that's your ally or a country that's your friend. Is all or nothing. And that'll be, that won't be in too long a distance. No, we're just bringing the ships up. We got a lot of ships, so we're bringing them up. We think that numerous countries are going to be helping us with this also, but we're putting on a complete blockade. We're not going to let Iran make money on selling oil to people that they like and not people that they don't like or whatever it is. It's going to be all or none, and that's the way it is. And it'll be, you saw what we did with Venezuela. It'll be something very similar to that, but at a higher level.
Okay. He didn't get into the gas prices there, but a little bit later on in that conversation with Maria Bartiromo, President Trump was asked about gas prices, and he said, yeah, they're probably going to stay where they are for a while. He said maybe a little higher. And Maria Bartiromo kind of gave like a double take look, like, higher? Please tell me you're joking. This is a midterm year. We cannot force people to pay nearly $5 a gallon gas in a midterm year and expect to win. President Trump knows this. He also said, by the way, this is going to be very short-lived. They may go up slightly, but they're probably not going to change very much from what they are right now, which is not a good thing because they're way too high right now. He said, but it will be short-lived. They will go back down. The prices will plummet as soon as we're done over there. And of course, being done over there means not just stopping the bombing and stopping the disarming the nuclear capabilities of Iran, but of course it means stopping the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, both their blockade and ours at the end of the day. World oil prices will plummet once that happens. And so this is what everybody is talking about and everybody is concerned about, and justifiably so. Now, go to the next one. Donald Trump just stunned the world, Dylan. Because I want to show this. This is an effect that not a lot of people saw coming. People didn't have this on their bingo card. What you see here is a tweet, and whoever it was that made this put a live map up of ships, international ships that are looking for basically places to get their oil. Okay, these are the tankers that are looking to provide the rest of the world with their oil. So all of those little red dots are ships, and what you can't see there is the text on the post, but you can hear President Trump in a moment. I'll play it, but the text on the post says, Suddenly oil and gas tankers want to rush to the U.S. to fill up on energy. Look at the Gulf of America. And if you know where the Gulf of America is on that map, and you ought to, just look for the United States and look to, you know, the inside to the west of Florida and going up against the Gulf Coast there. Look at that heavy concentration of ships. They are sailing up and lining up to load up with our oil and our natural gas and everything else, President Trump said. Let's play the clip. Go ahead, Dylan.
The boats are sailing up and heading out to our country. Big, beautiful tankers, and we're loading them up with oil and gas and everything else. And it's a pretty beautiful thing to see.
Okay, so quick, simple statement there from the president. But that's something nobody really saw coming. That's why Eric Doherty from Florida News Service put it that way. Donald Trump just stunned the world. This is something nobody really thought of. Everybody just thinks that it's all about opening up the oil lines in and supplies of the Strait of Hormuz there, which Iran is controlling simply because of the their border with it, or the coastline with it. It's not their water, it's international waterways, but everybody's talking about that. And President Trump is saying, yeah, by the way, we're open for business. Who wants to get their oil from American oil producers? Come on up, come in and line up. And they're doing that in the Gulf of America. So that's a really, really big deal. Not a lot of people saw that coming. All right, so that's one of the larger stories, of course, today is where we are with respect to Iran and the war effort and where it's going to go from here. Nobody is happy about the fact that things kind of broke down. The talks kind of broke down. They didn't break down when you sit with somebody for 21 hours, which is what J.D. Vance did with the Iranian negotiators. It wasn't like talks broke down, but they were basically just refusing to agree to not be nuclear. That's what this whole thing is all about. Vice President Vance made it very, very clear that we are not going to allow them to pursue nuclear enrichment at a weapons grade level unchecked, because they're going to then create said weapon. This isn't even remotely controversial. It's what they're going to do. It's what they said at the beginning of negotiations before the war started, or the war activities started. They said, we've got enough material right now to make 11 bombs. So, what are you going to do? And that's when President Trump said, this is what we're going to do. Bye-bye Navy, bye-bye Air Force, bye-bye Khamenei, or Khamenei. I don't really care if I get his name right. But another element to all of this that we have to talk about just super quick is, where are our friends and partners? Where is NATO? Because NATO has been AWOL, absent. And that's something President Trump wants everybody to know as well. There's another clip there, Dylan, if you could. It's President Trump rips NATO. Go ahead and pull that one up there. And I want to make it very, very clear. Well, I'll let the president make it very, very clear, and then I'll comment on it after that. But listen to what the president said about our so-called allies, the ones that always expect the United States to be there for them in their time of need, save their bacon whenever, an imperial expanding power like Russia tries to take over their countries and so forth. They always count on the United States to be, the big dog, which we are. But when we say, yeah, we need to do something else for world peace here and national security, we need your assistance. You're not there for us. What the hell? Play the clip.
Well, they're coming up. They're going to be coming up. But I'm very disappointed in NATO. They didn't do that. They weren't there for us. We pay trillions of dollars for NATO, and they weren't there for us. Remember what I said. NATO was not there. Now they want to come up, but there's no real threat anymore. But NATO was not there for us.
NATO was not there for us, which begs the question. This is the first time I've ever done this on a live stream. The platform that I'm using is now allowing me to throw a poll on the screen, and I'm going to see how it works here. So let's see what happens when I click show poll. Does it go? Oh, it's in the corner. Okay. I literally have not done this before. I made the poll earlier this morning once I found out over the weekend about this new gadget. It's a widget, technically, that says you can put up a poll. And I didn't know how it would display. So it looks like it's in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, which is fine. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here. But I don't know if it's something you can vote on in the chat or if it's really just for conversation. Because I don't. Oh, look at that. Now I see it's a storage placement or stage placement. I can put it in the right. I can put it on the left. I can put it in the up. I can put it on the down or on the upper left too. Look at that. Interesting. I was hoping it would actually show up in the chat so that people could actually vote within the chat and then discuss. So it looks like that's not a thing. I'm discovering this as I go. Like I said, this is literally brand new. But okay, so I threw it up there and the question was, should the United States withdraw from NATO? 1, yes, they do nothing for us. 2, no, the alliance still matters. 3, I'm not quite sure. I want to check the chat here in a little while before we get Senator Moreno on anyway, and find out how you feel about that. Do you think we should be in NATO at all any longer, given the fact that they do not support President Trump and the military objectives of this administration? And again, I don't care if you agree with them or not. What matters is that not only, sorry, again, I'm trying to catch up here. I've got about 4 different screens that I'm manipulating at once. What matters here is that obviously President Trump believes that this is a national security issue. I agree that this is a national security issue, not only for the United States, but for our allies and our interests around the globe, including in Europe. All right. And yes, including in Israel. So it's extraordinarily important, I think, that we all understand why we're doing what we're doing. And NATO understands it. They just refuse to get in there and get their hands dirty. And that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable, which is why the question is being posed. Should we, the United States, should we withdraw from NATO? President Trump can't do that unilaterally, by the way. That takes an act of Congress, all right? And given the fact that Congress is hopelessly deadlocked in so many things, I don't want to, suggest that that is something that could happen anytime soon. Probably it can't. But I just want to know if you think it should. Should NATO continue to enjoy America's trillions of dollars in contributions to it? Should they continue to enjoy the protection of the world's mightiest military, which is ours? Or should they be left high and dry to kind of see what it's like when they don't have the big dog protecting them on the porch, which is what we are. All right. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. What I'm going to do now, though, before we bring in on our first guest, is I want to talk to you about our partners at AFP, Americans for Prosperity. This episode is brought to you in part by AFP and the Buckeye Blueprint, the state of Ohio. We have it all. We've got so many resources. We have so much talent, and we are just watching it fade away. It is going unused. We could do so much better with what we have economically, energy-wise, education-wise as well. We're in the middle of the country, kind of literally on a from a geographical standpoint, but we're in the middle of the country statistically, and that's unacceptable. We shouldn't be in the 30s someplace, usually in the lower 30s, with education. So we want education. So does AFP. We want education to become more parent-centered. We want the economy to become more civilian and worker-centered. That's right. You work hard, you should keep more of your money and give less of it to the government in any way. And that would be in property taxes and income taxes and more. And then, of course, energy. We have enough energy resources in the state to lead the country, and it goes wasted because of bad policy. Americans for Prosperity, Ohio, AFP Ohio, they are there about policy, not necessarily about politicians, but policy. And that's what we're here to talk about. I want you to join us. Join Buckeye Blueprint. Go on the website, buckeyeblueprint.com. In fact, I kind of just remembered this. Last night, I shared on my Facebook page an Americans for Prosperity call out. Let me throw it up on my, well, I can't really throw it up on the screen at the moment, but I just remembered this from last night. AFP Ohio posted something. Yeah, answer the call to the time to make a difference is now. And it's why volunteer with AFP Ohio. I'm going to have to make sure I get this up on the screen very soon. Ohio's failing to lead where it counts, writes AFP Ohio, pushing the Buckeye Blueprint. On tax reform, 9 states have a 0% income tax. You can take the blueprint off the screen there. Oh, you did already. Sorry. 9 states have a 0% income tax, while many more on the march to 0% in the coming years. We need to be one of them. Educational opportunity in many states is universal, It is not here. We need full and total school choice and parent-controlled curricula, all right, or at least parent-influenced curricula, if not controlled. Universal education savings accounts are available in dozens of states and rapidly growing. In spending, Columbus bureaucrats' budgets continue to grow while our personal budgets shrink. And when it comes to energy, as I said a few moments ago, the current era of Ohio's energy production has been mired in scandal and cronyism instead of being used at its greatest capacity for our own state's good. And it can be. So AFP Ohio is doing wonderful things in that regard. Go to the BuckeyeBlueprint.com page that I told you there, BuckeyeBlueprint.com, to help build a bolder and better Buckeye State. We can do better, but it takes volunteers. Why does AFP Ohio support this show financially? Why are they a foundational partner here of our beliefs? Because they know that this audience is an active audience. You guys don't just sit and watch and then chat and then comment when you're watching this on replay. You get out there and you become involved. I know you do because I've seen you do it, and the insiders especially. So need you to do that now. Step up for AFP just like they stepped up to get this show off of the ground, all right? I need a few more foundational sponsors like this to get there, but they were first in, kind of tied with Mark King in keeping Medicare simple. I need you to repay that, but not just because of duty, but because it is the right thing to do for the state of Ohio. How can you volunteer with AFP Ohio? Go to BuckeyeBlueprint.com to find out. Go to BuckeyeBlueprint.com. They are phenomenal, and we are just overjoyed to be a partner with them. All right, let's get away from Iran and let's come closer to home now and talk about the new Republican Party rising? Wait, what? What new Republican Party? I thought we already had a new Republican Party. It was called MAGA when President Trump came in. And we kind of do, but it's going to take a lot more than that. I didn't get it, I should say. I discovered a post on Facebook from my friend Jonathan Broadbent back on, I want to say Thursday. Maybe it was Thursday or Friday. And I sent it to him. I clipped it and I sent it to him. And I said, this is fantastic. I love this concept. Can we discuss it? He said, yeah, when? We smacked it around a little bit back and forth and came up with today at 7:30. And that's what he's here to talk about. The new Republican Party rising. Dylan, I think I have a graphic there. If you go down to the general tab, go ahead and throw this up so people can follow along when we bring Jonathan onto the program here. But it's in the general tab. And I think it's the one that it says New Republican Party Rising. About the sixth one down there. If you can throw that up on the screen. Oh, okay. It's not going to display for you, maybe because it's on my Facebook. All right. That's all right. Don't worry about it. We might not be able to see it, but we can sure as hell discuss it. Let's bring in our friend Jonathan Broadbent, the founder of Unwoke Investing and a true American patriot. Oh, you got his Facebook page up there anyway. That works. All right. If you want to scroll down on that, Dylan, when we're done here, you can find the post that he made. It's from a few days ago. But let's bring Jonathan up and onto the page or onto the show right now. Jonathan Broadbent, there he is, our good friend from Unwoke Investing and from what else? So many Ohio political news, the voice of Geauga, radio. Jonathan has got his fingers in a lot of different places right now. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I do. Good morning, Bob. Happy to be back on with you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. Like I said, and I'm so glad that when I first saw your post about the basics of the new versus the old, the new Republican Party versus what is being called the GOP wing of the party. Since then, you threw me a couple of other examples of people trying to corrupt the party, or the corrupt party maybe being used in such ways. So I'm glad we have had a lot of chance to look this over, but. Let's start out with you. Tell us what's going on here with this President Trump's new Republican Party.
Well, I'm going to start things off by saying that, we're all trying to figure out what in the heck is happening with our GOP. We'd like to think that we have a Republican Party. And I've adopted a couple of expressions, Bob. One of them is, if we live in a supposed two-party system, shouldn't we at least have two parties? This whole uniparty thing, on social media, I keep pointing out to people, I'm like, tell me an example of any time in history where a single party rule has helped the people. And there are no examples. We live, unfortunately, in Ohio in particular, in a single party system. It's single party. We've got mass collaboration between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. So a couple of years ago, I got started with something called precinct strategy. A gentleman by the name of Dan Schultz was introduced to me by Steve Stern. A couple of names you may know. For your audience who may not know those names, Steve Stern is pretty close with the Trump family. I think he works with General Flynn, Don Jr., and a bunch of other people. Precinct strategy, in short, is just basically American civics. It is us learning to use civics in the way that a lot of our enemies have already figured out. We've got some bad actors in the United States who have figured out how to pull the levers of our political system. And recently, Islamic community has come up. They've gotten very good at understanding how our political systems work in the United States and gaining office. Then once they have the levers of power, they don't let go and they manipulate things. Same thing with Somalians. So where you've got some outside agitators or outside people coming into the United States and using our political system in very effective ways, kind of against us, we have a lot of Americans who actually we're the vast majority, but I think people are just thrown off by politics and don't want to get involved. Precinct strategy just basically tells people, hey, now's the time. You got to step up. You've got to get involved. And it shows them how. So it's step-by-step instruction on getting involved in local politics. It's local boards, something called Central Committee, which not a lot of people understand or know about. I'm going to put that in simple context as a building block, and then that'll lead us into a little additional conversation.
Okay.
Everyone in the United States should have a local representative of their Republican Party. It's called, often referred to as a precinct committeeman. So whatever neighborhood you live in, anywhere in the United States, there should be a local, kind of the eyes and ears of Republican Party. That precinct committeeman, of which I happen to be one. I'm an elected central committeeman in my county, and my job is to communicate with my community. It's a volunteer role, but here's the problem. It's a kind of a starting point. All across the country, and certainly in Ohio, about half of those seats are vacant. Nobody understands it. I mean, it's not taught in school anymore. It used to be in the 50s and 60s. Civics and the importance of getting involved in community and helping to kind of run government was part and parcel. All the kids were taught that. Now we've got several generations where kids weren't taught, and it's led us into easy prey for Marxism and those sorts of things. So in Ohio, about half of the seats are empty. Hopefully your audience is following me so far. But our big push is to get more people involved in the Republican Party, and specifically real Republicans. There's another piece to it, and that led to that post that I made.
Jonathan, before you continue with that, when you say roughly half of the seats are unoccupied right now, how many of those in Northeast Ohio? You know, the majority of our viewers and listeners are right here. So I'm curious, are there spots here that people might be interested in exploring this to see if they could fill one of those spots because of the importance you're placing on it right now? What about up here?
So Cuyahoga County in particular, we'll just focus there. It's the Cleveland area. Cuyahoga County is more than half vacant. I believe they're around 60% vacant. So all of these communities all over Brecksville, Broadview Heights, East Cleveland, you name it. There are all these areas that really there's just nobody there. And so the person who could be going out into the community and advocating for conservative values and talking about the Republican platform, pitching it, interviewing and vetting candidates, all those kinds of things is just vacant in, I want to say about 60%. We'd have to double check with some of the folks more involved in Cuyahoga County. In my county in Geauga, I've been out here for about 5 years now, and we've done a good job. At first, I was really impressed because we're consistently at about 100%. All of those precincts are filled with people. Well, then you start to get into the quality of the people involved. And that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's that post that I made that you kind of keyed in on and invited me back to talk about. And that has to do with something called party rating. And that's the other ingredient here. If you remember, in addition to everything else I'm doing, I run Ohio Rhino Hunters.
Yes.
And that's trying to get rid of the rhinos. So all throughout the Republican Party, and we know we can certainly see it in DC and in Columbus, we have some, I call it party rating. They're Democrats. I mean, we can acknowledge it. We know that. Anyone who pays attention to politics, they rely on an uneducated, uninformed electorate to assume anybody with an R next to their name is actually a Republican. Well, we know that's not the case. That's not actually true. So part of the mission is to find those people and get rid of them. We need to get them out of the party so we can get back to what the Republican Party actually represents and stands for. And Bob, I'm going to pause and just ask a question. It looks like on my way in to join you on this program, I had a little difficulty setting up the green screen setting. Is that terribly distracting? I think I may be able to turn it off if that's.
I'm okay with it. Hold on. Let me go back to the to the two shot here because I just pulled up the actual.
Oh, good. You did find it. All right.
Yeah,
so to me, it's slightly distracting to me, but we'll push forward.
No, I think it's fine. I just want. I'm gonna make you full screen here for a second and see.
Okay.
Oh, I like it.
A little
Voice of Geauga, County Talk Radio Show, which I absolutely love. You guys are great. I've guested on it a couple of times, obviously, before I started my live show at the same time. So no, you look great, and it's a great background. It's perfect. So no problem.
That's actually this is the background I use for our show in the mornings. That's a radio program and podcast for anybody in the Geauga, Lake Ashtabula area. That this is a program. Find us over there, Voice of Geauga. But back to the matter at hand. If we're going to give Trump a party, and we've known since really 2016, 2017, Trump is a politician without a political party. He's got, we've all seen those memes with the Democrat Party stabbing him in the chest and the Republican Party stabbing him in the back. Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Republican Party is not only weak and about half strength, but a lot of the people currently involved in the Republican Party really shouldn't be there. There's some combination of just they're feckless, they're Democrats in disguise, and they are wreaking havoc. If we're going to get MAGA, if we're going to build America first, we need more patriotic Americans involved in the Republican Party. And it's not nearly as daunting or difficult as people immediately assume. Wherever you live, anywhere in the United States, there is opportunity for you to get involved at the local level, and it doesn't really even entail all that much. Typically, it's maybe a monthly meeting where you get together and talk about what's happening in your community, and then it gives you the opportunity to build some social media, start posting some things, maybe go door to door if you want to, get a couple of contacts around your neighborhood. And then when big issues come up, like remember when abortion was hitting Ohio a couple of years ago, where people were debating on legalizing marijuana, or you've got decisions about which Supreme Court justice is good and actually conservative. All of those things are great opportunities for we, the people, to talk and spread the news. Defeat the ridiculous postcards and the mass mailings and the attack ad commercials. Get real information out, and basically precinct strategy is just grassroots conservatism at its core. If we don't do that, the rhinos win, the uniparty wins.
No question. Jonathan, we're talking to Jonathan Broadbent, who is the founder of Unwoke Investing, among many other hats that he wears. You mentioned that it's a volunteer position. I don't know how much money the ORP has, but maybe if they offered people a few bucks, do you think that might get the more than half of the empty seats filled if people actually were at least compensated for their time and their effort? I know typically in a perfect world, we would all just volunteer our time and like you have for so long, and so many others who are actually sitting in those central committee seats and so forth. But is it going to take that, to get people a little bit more active? If you give me a few bucks, not even a salary, a full salary, but just a little bit to cover the expenses and the time that I'm putting into this, is that what it's going to take to get more people involved? Or do you think people will rally just to what you're doing right now?
I'm hoping they'll rally, and we're actually seeing it. Just to sort of fill in a couple of gaps there, I started co-hosting a national sort of training session twice a week. It was Tuesdays and Fridays. Dan Schultz on the social media platform X, formerly Twitter, we hosted these spaces twice a week, and people came in from all over. I got to know people from Hawaii and California and Texas, Massachusetts, New Jersey, who were tackling this very issue. And it's pervasive all across the country, trying to find the right people, trying to find good people to get involved. To answer your question, Bob, I would suggest exactly the opposite. I know that if ORP money started to go into these races, and I suspect there is some, it's kind of percolating around doing nefarious bad things. The first thing to know, in its current form, I don't trust the Ohio Republican Party. And connected to that, you know me, I'm follow the money. I'm ex-Wall Street. That's what led to Unwoke Academy and Unwoke Investing and all that.
Sure.
Always follow the money. We have one of the worst states in the nation for teachers' unions funding politicians. There's a tremendous amount of flow through that comes from the teachers' unions into basically buying out our politicians. Teachers' unions have been buying school board seats. There are some examples I'm aware of from probably around 5 years ago. Our state school board in Ohio they effectively were buying those seats for $95,000 to $100,000 a piece.
Wow.
As soon as that bad money floods in, you know that you have a captive agent. You no longer have a true independent representative. One of the things that I pride myself on, and I'm actually in the middle of a contested race myself right now. I've served in my county as a county central committeeman for 4 years. I do have a contested race now. Somebody has come out to run against me, so I'm running opposed. I am up for re-election on May 5th, so apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. I have been one of the most active, one of the most, dare I say, influential and problematic central committeeman in my county for years. I've been fighting for getting better people in. I've done a few what are called resolutions, and I've gotten them passed. That I think upsets a lot of the status quo, a lot of the people who think that their job is to just simply get there and treat it like a social club and don't question, don't think, don't do anything, just follow orders. Well, that's never been me, as I've been sort of ruffling feathers for years now. But my opponent, I've come to find out, is actually funded. We don't know at this time who is funding my opponent, but he has some sort of campaign finance group. I am purely self-funded. Everything I'm doing, all my stamps, the envelopes, I've organized some friends to help me go door to door. I print everything. I have a nice desktop printer here. I'm doing it all internally and myself so that I know when I get through the tail end of this, and if I'm reelected, I don't owe anybody anything. There is not a single person out there that can come and tell me, hey, remember when I wrote you that check to help you with your campaign? Now I expect X from you. I don't have any of that. And I think that more politicians should operate that way, although I don't lump myself in with politicians because what I do is just simply volunteer.
No, I get it. And there might be a lot of people that might have that desire, but maybe can't self-fund, just depending on what their means are. But I love the fact that you are able to, and you do, and you're right, you're beholden to no one. And that's what matters the most here. So Jonathan, let's dive into this now that, like I said, we were able to pull this up. This is what I saw you post. And that got me to reach out and say, hold on, let's talk about this. Now, I'm going to read the top part of this, and I'm going to have you take us through the basics that you see on the bottom between the new Republican Party versus the old GOP wing of the Uniparty.
Yep.
Returning to the roots, the 2024 Republican platform, which was so successful, by the way, declares the Republican Party must return to its roots as the party of industry, manufacturing, infrastructure, and workers. This is the rebirth of the party of Lincoln and McKinley. Then we have a couple of quotes there from President Trump from April of last year, about a year ago right now. I'm proud to be the president for the workers, not the outsourcers, the president who stands up for Main Street, not Wall Street, who protects the middle class, not the political class, and who defends America, not trade cheaters all over the world, end quote. And then we have one from Vice President Vance, Ohio's own. If you don't think the U.S. should get involved in every stupid war in the world, then you're a Republican. If you think the U.S. should spend billions of dollars and tons of innocent Americans to die in a foreign country, then you are a Democrat. Vice President J.D. Vance. All right. So, Jonathan, before we get into the basics here, I already can hear, and I'm sure you can as well, the left screaming about that. Okay, Vice President Vance, how do you explain Iran, where we are right now? So give me your thoughts on that.
Oh, they have been. So I posted that, and my position on that is the same thing as pretty much everything. There isn't any political platform or person or group, Promethean action included, and I include Trump in this, who I'm going to agree with 100% of the time. And that's one of the nice things about being on the right. We can disagree on things, and we're going to. I'm not going to follow lockstep. I personally am pleased by a lot of what I'm seeing from the Trump administration on that front. I may not agree with 100% of what Promethean action puts out, but I do like that statement as a whole. What that's telling us, and it's really neat the way they put it together, it's enticing. It's showing people there's a path forward for us to actually reclaim the Republican Party. And I guess in my view, and this has really evolved and developed over the last several years of being involved in precinct strategy, we have to get the claws of the far left out of the Republican Party. Right now, they're entangled. They are uncomfortably enmeshed. We've got the Republican Party and the Democrat Party collaborating because a few people have figured out that they can keep control and make a lot of money. That's at its core. I think that's basically what corrupted the whole thing. So they sort of formed up and teamed up and collaborate. And we saw it with the Blue 22 a couple of years ago in Ohio, where we had one person who was power hungry. I'm paraphrasing from my perspective, was power hungry and collaborated with the Democrat Party and basically caucused with the Democrat Party in order to become Ohio's Republican, and I'm air quoting that, Speaker of the House. Well, unfortunately for us, we didn't get much better when we replaced that speaker with the current one. But that willingness to put aside what should be political differences and completely different political platforms in order to pursue power and money, that needs to be weeded out. We need to get rid of those people, and we need accountability within the Republican Party. We only get that when, and again, I'm going to try to put this in the simplest terms possible, but whoever controls the endorsements, that's the encouragement to vote for or against something or someone, whoever controls endorsements controls the political party. The Ohio Republican Party knows that, and they fight tooth and nail to keep the counties as weak as possible. They want them dumbed down, uncooperative, feckless. They just want them to follow orders and keep the money flow going to the state Ohio Republican Party. My view is the politics should really be the opposite. We should have county level control. And actually, that's the way our political system was set up. That's why we say of the people, by the people, and for the people. Our county should tell the state how to behave and what we want. If we want legislation, it's up to us at the precinct level to tell the county what we expect of our elected representatives. The county tells the state, and the state responds. And I can tell you, if we get strong, when we get strong, we have that power, unquestionably. And I'm going to put it in an example, and it'll apply to anything you can think of. If you want to reverse the legalization of marijuana, or if you want to pass Ohio law that forbids aerosol spraying in the clouds or whatever, any issue. If you want to change and give counties the ability to do paper ballots, hand-counted paper ballots, it is all 100% possible if we, the people, control the county central committee. So the way that works, we would pass resolutions. The resolutions get passed up to the state, and those elected representatives in Columbus, they know if they don't follow orders, they're not going to get the endorsement and they won't continue on in politics. That's how power works.
Jonathan, I like that, and I really appreciate it. It's almost it's an elementary explanation there that we all kind of need really to understand where it's coming from and where power truly flows from and how it is truly at the grassroots level. And I'm glad you're right about not wanting to pay or have the ORP, get involved in this. But like I said, I just want people to volunteer, and I want people to be able to step up. Yeah. And have an impact. And again, I'm proud of this audience. This audience steps up in so many different ways. So, and I know there are some people who are current or former Central Committee members in this chat right now. I'm looking at them talking. So there are a lot of them that know exactly what you're talking about, but we need more of them, obviously, not just in Cuyahoga, 60%, you said vacant, but really across the state of Ohio. So really important. Okay, Jonathan, let's get back into this now. The rise of the new Republican Party. I want you to take us through the bottom of this. And again, I know this isn't your work, but you shared it, so you certainly agree with it and are defending it online as well. So tell us about the new Republican Party versus the GOP wing of the Republican Party. And it looks like you've got it broken down to about 6 different categories there, the differences between the two. I'll just let you kind of take it at your pace.
Well, actually, I didn't pull that up before the show, and I can't quite read it. But just
I'll read it. I'll read these to you, and then you can give us the explanation. Okay. So the new Republican Party: tariffs, manufacturing superpower, rebuild our factories, restore supply chains, and expand productive jobs. The old GOP wing of what we know as the Uniparty believes in free trade, financial profits. They outsource jobs and industry, driving down wages and living standards. That's number one.
That's exactly right in my wheelhouse. And that's one of my favorite things on this entire sheet. And one of my favorite things I've seen put out by Promethean Action. We've seen decades of the Uniparty completely willing to sell out America, send jobs overseas, and just over-regulate the heck out of small business. It has driven small business into near extinction. And over the past 5+ years, we saw a mass consolidation of capital markets, which is kind of a fancy way of saying that Wall Street got broken. Wall Street was designed to fund business enterprise. So if you have some business that needs capital, you need money to grow and expand, Wall Street was designed to fund business enterprise. Well, we saw all of the money, virtually all of it, flowing into a small handful of companies. You had the usual suspects. People were referring to it as the Magnificent Seven. They got so ridiculously overfunded over the past 5+ years. They had so much money, they didn't know what to do with it. But the downside to that, it was a crushing blow to American free business enterprise. So the companies out there that really need money have got some great new idea. They could become the next new big thing. There was no money. When you put together the closure of small local community banks, and they've been closing like mad since the beginning of the Obama era. So there's virtually nowhere to go anymore to fund business enterprise, to fund manufacturing and development. And that doesn't necessarily just mean small companies, small business enterprise. It could be good-sized companies that need more money for research and development, to acquire other companies, to buy new manufacturing equipment. All of that requires money. And Wall Street used to be the place to go, or one of the places to go, to get that money. Trump has reversed that. On February 21st, 2024, he released something that is spectacular. It's called an investment policy. This investment policy document, I've talked about it probably 5 or 6 times on my podcast, Unwoke Academy. It's really important, and it's one of those things that not everybody understands, or actually probably few do. but it sets the stage for a complete reversal of that. So instead of Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, and that handful of companies being vastly overcapitalized, in my estimation, and I get into detail on that on Unwoke Academy, instead of just those handful of companies receiving massive funding, spread the wealth and get money out into funding business development. So think about it. If you've got some friend or you've got some idea for the next new widget or mousetrap or something, or if you have a manufacturing business and it's sort of mid-level, but you think you could grow it and expand and bring American manufacturing here, and that includes everything, pharmaceutical, you name it, there's the possibility of bringing it back into the United States. You're going to need money in order to do that. If you can't go to the banks, where can you go? The Wall Street and private capital, private equity is another piece of the puzzle. That for a long time was really just captive to a very small number of companies. And that's just crony capitalism. It was rampant on steroids under Joe Biden, but now under Trump, it's reversing, and we're seeing growth, great growth in all kinds of different companies in the United States that are America first, and the expansion and growth of those companies has been breathtaking. That is the shortest answer I could think to give to that first bullet point.
Well, it needs to be explained in the detail that you do, and I appreciate that. It wasn't a short answer, but it's a very necessary answer, and it's, as you say, it's literally what you do. It's in your wheelhouse. Number two is economic and the new Republican Party. It's weird. I'm going to go the old way first. I'm going to reverse this. The GOP wing of the Uniparty, under which we are dealing, we are living right now, and trying to find our way out of. Here's what they believe in. Globalism, America last. They put the real economy to feed their income. They gut the real economy to feed their income streams, leaving a hollowed out consumer society. The new Republican Party, the one that is being built by President Trump, economic nationalism, America first. Grow the physical economy and reawaken the producer identity. Explain that, especially producer identity.
Bingo. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I did find the setting that took care of that fuzzy effect we were seeing on my image.
No worries.
I'm type A. I got to admit it, Bob. I'm just type A. It was bothering me. So yeah, I mean, forever, like most of my lifetime, and I'm no spring chicken anymore. We have been watching the migration of the can-do attitude out of the United States. It's been marching other places. And we've seen, I just saw a video a couple of days ago from Vietnam, of all places, and just the growth and the towers and building and the energy production that's going into Southeast Asia and Cambodia and Vietnam and China and Taiwan. The Middle East continues to grow and flourish, and they're building this can-do attitude.
Uh-oh. Did we freeze up? Maybe Jonathan's connection froze up there. Can-do attitude. And we want to Jonathan Broadbent. Yeah, it looks like we may have to reconnect with him. Yeah, let's drop him. Yeah, let's drop him off there and see if he can reconnect, because obviously what he's talking about is of the utmost importance as we talk about this new Republican Party rising. I'll use this opportunity, by the way, to remind everybody about one of our foundational partners for Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. We could not do this. We are not doing this if we don't have the support of people like Americans for Prosperity, Ohio, AFP Ohio, and also from my friend Mark. If you're on Medicare and ever find yourself confused by your coverage, you're not alone. Medicare can be complicated, and the wrong information or no information at all can cost you time, money, and peace of mind. Hey, it's Bob France. For a Medicare professional I know and trust, Mark King. I've known Mark for years, and I've confidently referred Medicare recipients to him time and time again because he puts people first and explains Medicare in plain English. Mark takes the time to help you understand understand how Medicare works, what coverage you have, and what options might be available based on your needs. There's no pressure, no confusion, and no rushed decisions. Just honest guidance from someone who's been doing this for nearly 40 years and who knows this system inside and out. If you're unsure about your doctors, your prescriptions, or your overall coverage, Mark is the go-to guy you need. Call 440-832-8936 to get an appointment. That's 440-832-8936. And for user-friendly information, visit keepingmedicaresimple.com. I trust Mark King for answers, and you can too. Okay, we're not going to get Jonathan Broadbent back on, as it turns out, because he just texted me. This isn't a connection issue. It's a power issue. His power went out. Those storms overnight. I don't know how much you felt or heard, but holy cow. I mean, I've never been in a hurricane, but those winds last night sounded like hurricane force winds. I know they aren't. But you understand the point. They were strong. There were a lot of people with a lot of damage, trees down and power lines impacted and so forth. Well, apparently Jonathan at his home just lost power. So he's not going to be able to reconnect with us. He did text me back the end of the line that he was giving me. We still have that can-do attitude, which is where he ended. Just need to fund and encourage it. America first. And I concur. So there you go. That's I will take you through just briefly the rest of the image there. Let's see if we can put this back up on the screen. Yeah, there we go. I do want to share the rest of this with you. I can't analyze it the way Jonathan could, which is why he was on, but we can read it anyway. The basics, the new versus the old Republican Party. In the GOP wing of the Uniparty, which you see on the right side of that graphic, austerity for you, bailouts for Wall Street. They want budget cuts to save their system, not to cut fraud or waste. But in the new Republican Party, which you see on the left side of the screen there, the government is a builder. Build our way out of deficits with real production, great projects, and new frontiers. And that is exactly correct. That is the way that it has to be done, because you can't just, put up a paper facade over the infrastructure. We actually have to build something with a foundation, and that happens with real production. So number 4 on the GOP wing of the Uniparty that we're all fighting right now, sacrificing our seniors. They want to grab earned benefits to service their financial bubble. But on the new Republican Party side, protecting Social Security and Medicare, protect what seniors have worked for by cutting fraud and growing the economy. And we can and have and will do so much more on fraud, because so much more of it is being uncovered. I mean, honestly, I don't remember how many different people in government have said. I think Scott Bessent has said it. I think Stephen Miller has said it, talking about members of the administration, that if we just wipe out Democrat imposed and influenced fraud, the graft, which is true government theft or using government programs as a means of grifting. That's just so you know the difference between grift and graft. I went back and forth with somebody on it. It's also kind of a verb versus a noun. Grifting is one thing. The graft is what they're doing. Anyway, just all of the fraud that is being perpetrated by states like California, like Minnesota, and so many others, and Ohio, quite frankly, if you think about what's going on in Columbus. The theft of federal funds by the individual states, handing out, these giant subsidies and these giant checks to so-called service providers in things like healthcare and in things like hospice care and health transport and childcare and early, quality leering centers and all of the rest. You understand, right? All of that, if we wiped it out, could probably wipe out the federal deficit. Not all of the $38 trillion national debt, mind you, but the deficit anyway, and go in make great inroads into, paying down that national debt. If we just ended the frauds, that's what number 4 was about. And that's huge. And whoa, Jonathan's power came back on. I just got word from Dylan that Jonathan is back in the green room again. So how about that? Let's maybe he fired up the portable generator. Is he there? He is. Okay, let's bring him back in here. John. Oh, he went outside and got on his cell phone. All right.
I'm on my cell phone. I've got no power in my house. Yeah, the
Oh,
storm
yeah.
must have been bad. It wiped us out.
I was telling the story when I got your text that your power's out. Everybody experienced the storms overnight. It was bad.
Yeah.
But obviously, restoring your power is first and foremost. So thanks for making the extra effort here by going outside and getting on the cell phone. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I know the show must go on. And if I can contribute something, I'm happy to.
Absolutely. So I was just taking everybody through the last two without your expert commentary, but just the last two items on the list here of the basics of the old versus the new. So we just did seniors and Social Security and Medicare. So the fifth one is no middle class, no future on the uniparty side. The gig and service economy destroyed the American dream and priced young people out of the housing market. On the new Republican Party side, one income supports a family. Create jobs and provide a decent standard of living for young people. You want to comment on those?
I definitely do. If we don't have a middle class in America, we don't have anything. I mean, our middle class is what made us. It's what sustains America, and we can actually very easily bring it back. With that combination of things, if we get back to free market capitalism, to free enterprise, and people's ability to grow and develop companies, and be the decision maker to guide our own path in life. I mean, even when I was a kid, just pretty much anything you can think of, your local accountant, a doctor's office, lawyers, there were small legal practices, manufacturing was everywhere. All of that free market capitalism, that funds, it actually very easily funds a pretty good lifestyle in America. And when you take that away, and it's really been a two-pronged attack for decades against America, and that has been overregulation and the burdensome taxes that come along with it, and that steady march of these globalist companies. And I'm sorry, I'm ex-Wall Street, but I've been calling them out since 2007. For the primary three, your big three, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, are really happy to embrace the basically slave labor of foreign markets and places in Southeast Asia. So they get cheap labor, it sells out America, and it just undermines. If we reverse both of those, we can rebuild the American middle class virtually overnight, get back to what works. Builds a middle class America, it builds financial strength, and we could easily get back. If we could eliminate, and we remember Doge, let's get back to Doge. If we could eliminate a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and I think we're on the right path to do that. If we can cut back regulation, and Trump's doing that, and if we can get back to funding these business enterprise, then you have a robust, self-nurturing, self-sustaining middle class again.
Yeah, Jonathan, that's very well said. And I want to move on to the fifth one, or the last one, the sixth one technically. And this one we kind of covered already a few minutes ago because of JD Vance's comment that was posted here. But the Uniparty, the GOP wing of the Uniparty, believing in forever wars, globalists stay in control with endless conflict. And then on the new Republican Party side, respect sovereignty, negotiate as equals, stop endless wars and regime change schemes. So this is dividing the Republican Party somewhat. Even with the new Republican Party, there are Trump supporters who are adamantly opposed to the action in Iran right now. And there are others who are saying it absolutely must be done. I'm in the latter camp. I don't like that we're there now because it's a midterm, and I don't like the fact that gas is $4.20 a gallon in the midterm, year, because it's going to harm us as we try to keep the majority and do what's right, for this country. But I also understood, and I watched and listened very closely and examined what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said when he outlined the reasons why this is the last best chance to stop Iran from becoming nuclear and threatening not just the region, but the world, which puts America's national security in question and in jeopardy. So I know there's a divide here, and I don't want to be there now, but neither does President Trump. And I've said this, and you can give me your opinion on this, Jonathan. I've said this a number of times since this thing began. There's no way President Trump would have chosen this particular moment in time when we're supposed to be booming toward the midterm to actually put the brakes on things and raise prices on everything by engaging in an irrational war. If he's making the decision to do this now, it's because this is the only time in the interest of national security it can be done. That's my view. You don't have to share it. Give me yours.
Well, actually, my view matches yours pretty darn closely. One of the first things I'd recommend, because there's just so much sort of shortcut taking when it comes to analyzing whether or not Iran is necessary, check a lot of different sources. Promethean Action, I think, is a really good one. They talk about the global geopolitical implications, why Iran may or may not be necessary. But ultimately, what I would encourage people, because I know everyone wants to sort of look at it, they're attaching these sort of estimates, or the estimations for why they think Trump has done what he's done. Some people think regime change, some people think he's after the oil, some people think it's, that alignment of Muslim, Marxist, et cetera. And it could be a big combination of all of the above. In fact, I think the analysis could be its own standalone program. But what I encourage people to think about is Trump. Just step back for a minute and think about who we're talking about here. This is the guy behind the art of the deal. And remember his first administration? He thrives on wild card and not being able to estimate what he's going to do next. And the whole thing that what he's doing with Iran right now fits in that category exactly. Iran, if you go back to the Clintons, to Bush, Obama, all kinds of different people have commented that this is a rogue regime. They're abusive, etc. So there are plenty of arguments to be had on both sides of the aisle that this needed to happen. And I mean, you have the appeasement side. The Democrats just thought forever that if we just keep giving them enough money, and if we just keep sort of playing nice and coddling them, eventually, maybe one day they'll come around to playing nice and stop lying to us and stop abusing the world. That certainly never happened. Trump is the only one to ever come along and really throw some spectacular wild card response at Iran. And now it's the art of the deal. I mean, it's got them on their heels because they don't know what to expect. And that's where Trump thrives. He was able to get a whole bunch of amazing things done during his first administration because he exhausted people. People were like, this guy is totally different. We don't know what to do or what to make of him. And we don't believe that we can manipulate him. Obama was easily manipulated. Remember when he sent planes out and landed planes full of billions of dollars and just gave them money? Like, hey, maybe if I buy them off, then Iran will behave nice. No, they just turned that around and used it for all kinds of terrorist activities all over the world.
Yeah, and to build this massive ballistic missile cache that they have right now, which of course is what made them almost insulated. That's what Marco Rubio talked about. Between their drone production and their ballistic missile production, they have built this massive arsenal in order to basically make them untouchable as they continue their nuclear enrichment to weapons grade, to uranium enrichment to weapons grade. That's what this was all about. They had to be stopped now because they were almost going to be untouchable if they didn't go in now, which is why President Trump did what he did. Jonathan, I want to fast forward here for a second just to one other element of the original point of our conversation here, which is the rhinos. You're running Ohio rhino hunters. And there are other states that have the same thing. We're talking about trying to get the uniparty broken so that the new Republican Party can take over, which is a return to the party of Lincoln, for example. And here's another example of this. And I know you're on your phone, so you can't see this, but you shared with me an editorial in the PennantOH.com, the Pennant, Ohio, about a wolf in elephant's clothing and the story of Samuel Ronan as an example. Can you expound upon that?
It looks like I was muted. Unfortunately, Bob, there are many, many examples. I can give some local and some state examples. We have, unfortunately, experienced a long period of party raiding. And not everybody knows this, but I actually made sort of a little sub-study on this. During the Obama administration, there were people within the DNC, the Democrat party who were training Democrats to infiltrate the Republican Party, run as Republicans, and then get other Republicans elected. And their job, their mission, they were told, kind of like spies getting into America from, communist countries, their mission is to sow discord, disrupt things, block things, and get other bad actors into positions of power. And we see it all over Ohio. It's actually so prevalent in Ohio. Unfortunately, around the same time I started Ohio Rhino Hunters, I stumbled onto another group nationally called Rhino Removal Project. And I fished around, through a friend in Chicago, I figured out or learned about the person who originated that and asked for an introduction and was given a phone number in the 330 area code. And I was like, wait a minute, are you kidding me? Rhino Removal Project also started in Ohio. And so I've gotten to be, he's about 45 minutes south of me, the guy that started it. He's all over the country now. And he was like, yeah, it's terrible in Ohio. We think California and New York are bad and everything. The problem is so many people are fooled by that fake R next to politicians' names.
Yep.
In many cases, they are absolutely not Republicans. And it's another expression I've adopted just to sort of ease into and simplify the conversation. If you can't tell the difference between a Republican and their Democrat counterparts in their positions, their bills, their votes, their stance, their platform, then that's not actually a Republican. The Republican Party is supposed to stand for something, and it's all those things on that sheet and more. It stands for good things. It stands for fighting for we the people. It stands for grassroots. And when you have politicians, and there are many all over the country and absolutely here in Ohio, who you can't tell the difference. They do the same exact things that the Democrats do. In my book, that makes them Democrats.
And then they get up into a general election, having survived a primary, and then we are stuck between, well, what are we going to do? Because I do this every single season, and it's very, very frustrating. I vote for the Democrat, I know I'm going to get the wrong vote in Congress or wherever it is, in Columbus or whatever, every single time. If I vote for the Republican, there's a chance that 10 or 20% of the time I might get the right vote. So I'll vote for the lesser of two evils. We all get sick and tired of that. The solution is solving this at the primary level. We've got to convince the right types of people to run in the primaries, so we're not stuck with a rhino that we haven't hunted yet and gotten rid of or removed through the Rhino Removal Project. We got to stop these people at the primary level and get a true conservative and a new Republican Party member, obviously up against the Democrat in the general. Jonathan, 30 seconds. You can close it out.
Well, I've been going around helping people on their campaigns all over Ohio, knocking on doors, and I've got an armful of material about Republican candidates, and it is breathtaking. The number of people who are just obnoxiously rude, and I've had one yesterday, as a matter of fact, tell me, "No, we're not Republican. There are no Republicans in this house." I can look at the sheet and see in the past 3 primaries they pulled Republican ballots. That's how they're doing it. They are getting Democrats into the Republican Party, running them and getting Democrats to vote for them. It's not crossover, it's sabotage. It means that we lose a 2-party system. If we don't fight back, and precinct strategy, precinct project,
yep,
they're kind of one and the same. I'm working with leadership on both. We need to fight back and assert the values of the Republican Party. And once elected, hold the people in office accountable. We can do all that through Precinct Project.
That is exactly what it's about. Jonathan Broadbent, founder of Unwoke Investing. Jonathan, thank you for coming on. Thanks. Good luck getting your power restored. Sorry to hear that happen to you, but thanks for going the extra mile there and going out in your yard to get the cell phone going. We appreciate you.
Happy to. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, sir. There's Jonathan Broadbent putting in that extra work. That's big time right there. I mean, the storms were brutal last night. I'm surprised there aren't a lot more people with power out. Maybe there are. Maybe there are a lot of people who do not have power yet. But Jonathan's happened right in the middle of our conversation, and he went out in the yard and said, "I'll just go on the cell phone." That's got enough juice in it. So good luck to him, and hopefully everybody else is safe. But he is so right about this with respect to finding the right candidates and stop settling for rhinos. It's just so frustrating because so many Ohio in particular, and I can't judge all 49 other states, but Ohio in particular is so filled with kind of lukewarm, hot pink Republicans, meaning they're not quite red. They're like kind of in that pink phase or purplish phase, if you want to go to the red blue part of this whole thing. But they're just, and then we have somebody who's purpley red versus somebody who's just all downright, blue. And so we're like, okay, we'll take the purpley red one. And then we get enough of those in Columbus, for example. In the Ohio General Assembly, honestly, it is an embarrassment that we have a Republican supermajority in both chambers of the Ohio General Assembly, and we get ish done. That's what we get done is ish. I'm trying very hard to watch the language. Because of that. And then, they come up for re-election. We're like, wow, we need to primary that person out. Well, there's nobody to primary them out, and we got to vote for them again. It's either them or the Democrat. But we sit here with the illusion of having a supermajority of conservatives in Columbus. We don't. We just have the supermajority of Republicans, and there is a difference. Uniparty Republicans, as Jonathan Broadbent just spent the last 35 minutes talking about, uniparty Republicans are not Republicans. All right. The new Republican Party, the one that has been kind of started and founded, if not in name, by President Trump back in 2016 when he first got this whole thing rolling. But the new Republican Party has got to be the answer to all of this. We cannot continue with rhinos and in the Uniparty essentially being indistinguishable from left-wing Democrats. And unfortunately, that's where we're living right now. All right. I do see in our green room, our special guest has arrived. And so let me set the table for him real quick. I got this text message from Senator Bernie Moreno on Friday, I think it was, Thursday or Friday, I think it was. And the message was great because he told us on this program last week that this is going to happen. This is the way with respect to funding the Department of Homeland Security, as well as in the long term, ICE and CBP, and the ways to split them up. Fund DHS now. Let's use the reconciliation. What's the word I'm looking for? The reconciliation process to fund long term these important agencies, ICE and CBP. And Senator Moreno sent me a post that was made on Truth Social from President Trump saying, this is happening. I'm going to give you a couple of lines from President Trump. Reconciliation is on track, and we're moving, all caps, fast, and all caps, focused, in keeping our border secure and getting funding to the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department to continue our incredible success at making America safe again. He then goes on to talk about some statistics, but most importantly, quote, and this is what Senator Moreno has been spearheading, I am calling for the bill to be done no later than June 1st and on my desk. The department cannot wait any longer for full funding. I concur, and now let's bring in Senator Bernie Moreno, who has been kind of, like I said, spearheading this move and this drive to get the long-term funding with a simple majority vote by removing or separating, go ahead and bring them up, Dylan, separating CBP and ICE funding from the rest of DHS. Senator Moreno joins us now from D.C. Senator, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm actually in Ohio, I leave for D.C. around noon. To head back there to get to work. We have a lot to do. But let me just, for your viewers, is really simple because I think sometimes this gets uber confusing. The House can pass things with a simple majority. That's what our founders envisioned. In the Senate, we need 60 votes. Now, we can get rid of the filibuster and just do things with a simple majority, which a lot of probably people watching here would say, why don't you do that? The problem is we have somewhere between 4 to 12 Republicans that under no circumstances will vote for that. So that's off the table for now. The second option is doing something called the reconciliation bill, which is what this is. The third option is to have not lunatic Democrats that we can work with. That also is off the table for now because they are few and far between, maybe John Fetterman sometimes. So what we've done, Bob, is we've passed a bill that will fund all of DHS except for Border Patrol and ICE, although we pre-funded those agencies last year. Doing that allowed President Trump to pay all DHS salaries. Now, he can't do that forever because there's not enough money there. So we're going to refill the fuel tank through reconciliation. We're going to get it done by June 1st. But here's what your viewers should really know. This is where the magic's going to happen. I've had my team for the last 2 weeks go through every single appropriations bill, and we are going to reverse every Democrat priority, every Democrat earmark that we had to agree to because we needed to get 60 votes for the appropriations bills that already passed. So we have to make them pay a penalty. And then we're going to fund ICE and Border Patrol for as long as humanly possible. I want to do it for 10 years because I don't think there's a scenario, Bob, in which these lunatics will ever fund Border Patrol and ICE.
Well, I agree with you 100%. They won't. And I like the idea and I like the concept of it. But as you know, because I said this to you privately, I talked to Senator Miller last week, Representative Miller last week, and Representative Miller was recalcitrant. He was very, very, very strong in his language that he and others will never support this thing because they believe that even if you are successful in funding this for 10 years, they will, if and when they take over with the majority in 2027, immediately repeal that. I don't know how that process works, but he basically said, if we don't fund CBP and ICE with the DHS bill all in one, which is where we're at the stalemate right now, he said, if it's separated out like that, they will defund that when they take over as the majority. Is that possible? How does that work?
Well, if they take over the House and the Senate and the White House, they can do anything. I mean, they would get rid of the filibuster, by the way. That's why my point is you should do it. So, of course, they can do anything they want. By the way, remember, these appropriations bills are only for 1 year, so really only through the end of this September 30th. That's when the fiscal year ends. So what we don't want to do is get into another battle on October 1st, right before the midterms, in which they shut down the government. That's why funding ICE and CBP while we're in control of the levers of government is so important. But of course, Bob, look, if these lunatics take over, the last thing we'll be worried about is funding for Border Patrol and ICE. Let me tell you, they will make structural changes in this country that will make this country unrecognizable, which is why we all got to get out and vote. And we got to go out and vote and make certain that we overwhelm the ballot box. And I know it's frustrating. I know it. I sense it. I feel it. I've went to 22 cities during the last 2 weeks that we weren't in D.C. I talked to real people, real voters, which is, I felt like I was on the campaign trail again. And I do that because I want to be in touch with what people are thinking and feeling. And they're really, really ticked off, Bob. And I understand it, but this was not a one and done. This wasn't, hey, vote for President Trump and Republicans in November 2024, and this fight is over. We can go back to relaxing. The Democrats don't. They want to destroy this country. We have to keep at it. I've agreed to be the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, Bob, because we need to recruit more candidates. Like, for example, Nate Morris in Kentucky, an outsider, a business guy, a true conservative that looks at this job very simply. I work for the voters, number one, most importantly. And number two, I said I was going to do these things on the campaign trail. So when I get elected, I do those exact same things. Not a different set of things, not priorities for lobbyists and DC insiders, but exactly the things I told my voters I would do.
Extraordinarily important, no question about it, Senator. And I understand all of those things. And what frustrates you said people are frustrated. They're more than frustrated about the prospect of losing in November. And you talk about flooding the zone with votes, and the turnout rate needs to be enormous. I'm more than frustrated. I'm terrified at the prospect because what you just said, the CBP vote or funding and ICE funding are going to be minor things compared to what they're going to do when they nuke the filibuster and it changed the face of this country literally forever. But yet here we are. It is April. It is mid-April. It is coming very, very fast. And we're mired in inflation and gas and energy costs going through the roof because of the war effort right now. I support the effort. And I know President Trump didn't choose this time. He would not have chosen this time. It would be political malpractice to just choose to go into a war willy-nilly. It had to happen now for all of the reasons he and Secretary Rubio have laid out. But give me your opinion, Senator Moreno, on how and when this has to end for us to recover in time to survive November.
Yeah, I think we're at the very final stages of these conflicts and these hostilities. If you've noticed, the shooting has really basically come to an end. I think it's a brilliant move what President Trump did. He sent J.D. Vance there. They thought J.D. Vance was Wendy Sherman or somebody from Obama. Basically, they gave him a list of totally unacceptable items. They walked through all of it, 21 hours of negotiation. And finally, JD did what everybody does in a bad negotiation. I'm out. I'll see you later. His press conference, that was beautiful. A very short statement. They won't agree to abandon a nuclear program. That for us is a red line. We're not going to talk anymore. We're leaving, and got in a plane and left. I think that's the way you do it. I think now by blockading their ports, we're going to cripple them economically, like they're trying to do the rest of the world, give them a taste of their own medicine. And here's what I hope for, Bob, and you can keep this this statement on They'll Live Forever. I think when we celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country on July 4th, we won't be talking about Iran and we won't be talking about high gas prices. And I think if we can accomplish that mission, we'll roll into the rest of the summer, into Labor Day, and then we will be able to talk about what we've done for the American people with the working families tax cuts, what President Trump saved us from, and more importantly, how insane the Democrats are. Bob, these are not, I say that word not flippantly, these are people who don't want to fund border patrol, Bob. They don't want agents. Theoretically, if you called their bluff, we wouldn't have any human beings at the northern and southern border. They don't want to fund ICE. Well, what is ICE? We understand what enforcement removal operations is. There's a law that says that if you have a final order of deportation, somebody's got to take you out of the country. They don't want anybody doing that. They also don't want to fund homeland investigations. What do? Those are the people that go after child predators, sex traffickers, human traffickers, international narcotics organizations. Again, if you game out what they want, they would have nobody in those roles, Bob. This 100%. Is lunacy, on top of the fact that they think that the government is the answer to every question ever asked. They can't even answer basic questions like, what is a man, what is a woman? And these are people who are not normal Democrats. If we had normal Democrats, Bob, we could get all kinds of things done in Congress, but they're lunatics. And we'll have the time in September and October to highlight. I'll give you two quick examples of two Senate races. In Maine, okay? Now, Susan Collins, you would call her a rhino. She's not a strong Republican, but she represents Maine. She's with us, by the way, 80% of the time, which isn't bad. That's her voting record this time. If it were Democrat, it'd be 0. But who's her opponent? What's the alternative, right? There's no other Republican running that could win in Maine. So there's two Democrats. One is a person that will not stop the gender mutilation of children and will not prevent men from playing in women's sports, and has made that absolutely her what she calls human rights moment. That's one person. She's nuts, right? And by the way, older than old. Number two is Graham Plattner. Now, what is his deal? He said that black people are lazy, white people are stupid, and has a Nazi tattoo this big on his chest, Bob.
Yep, right there.
And he's winning, by the way, and he's winning 60% above the crazy governor. And now in Michigan, you have this guy, Dr. Al-Sayed, running against Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers is a great guy, barely lost last time by 16,000 votes out of 4 million cast. Who's Dr. Al-Sayed? He hangs out with Hassan Piker. Now, doesn't just go on his show, right? Doesn't just go on his show. That's one level of lunacy, right? He actually campaigned with him. What does Hassan Piker believe? He said America deserved 9/11. He said that Asian people are stupid. He said that America needs to embrace Sharia law. He says that the rape in October 7th that the Israelis suffered during that terrible attack was merited. I mean, this is not normal mainstream thinking. This is lunacy. That's just two races, two examples of why I think actually, Bob, we're going to win the midterms and we're going to keep this this momentum going for 2 more years under President Trump.
Well, God willing, you're right. I would replace just one thing. You know, you've said multiple times lunatics and insane and so on and so forth. They are those things too, but I think it's more than that. I think a lot of what they believe in is evil. Okay, when you don't want to remove the dangerous individuals who kill people like Sheridan Gorman in Chicago, and the illegal Haitian who beat a woman to death with a hammer last week, and it's just every single week there's more and more and more of these, and you don't want the people who are responsible for removing them from our communities so they don't harm more community members. There's a level of evil there, and I think their intentions are that, both the congressional Democrats and the Democrats in the media that provide cover for them. So that's what we're fighting against here. And I know, and I'm so glad to have you leading that fight and helping to lead that fight, Senator, because it is that dangerous. And I'm just going back to the point of my question to you is, and you said by the 4th of July and the time we celebrate 250, we won't be talking about Iran anymore, but that there's a long time between now and the 4th of July. And that's a long time for, gas prices to be $4.20. I paid $4.19 a gallon on all my entire trip down to Tennessee this past weekend and back. And it sucks. And it's harming families. And yet here we are, we're in a position where it may be even longer. President Trump told Maria Bartiromo it might go a little bit higher before it starts to plummet back down again. What's your message to Republicans to get them fired up about coming out and doing what needs to be done here when we're all suffering that same inflationary bubble right now?
Well, let me just say this. I met lots of families in my trips all over Ohio, and this is absolutely devastating to families. They were barely hanging on before when we got gas prices to historic levels. I empathize with that. I understand it. It's awful. We're working really hard to raise wages through our tariff policy and tax policies and deregulatory policy, and that's working. But that doesn't solve the problem. Look, we need gas prices to come back down. Here's always in life, we have alternatives. The alternative is we stick with the Republican Party, fight fiercely to get these candidates reelected, or capitulate to Democrats. By the way, the Democrats, you don't have to wonder what their objectives are. Just look at Massachusetts, New York, and California. They give you the sign. They tell you this is our model. In California, gas is $8 a gallon because basically they want to eliminate fossil fuels completely. They want to eliminate natural gas. This is why everything's driven up there with electricity prices that are 6 times the price of Ohio. So while it's not a mess that say, hey, they're much worse than we are. I hate that sales pitch, Bob, but it's true. And what they will do to this country is totally destroy it. They want to destroy the middle class because, see, the middle class is the biggest threat to a socialist environment. If you have a strong, thriving, upwardly mobile middle class, you can't really put socialism in place. You need to wipe out the middle class, put everybody that you possibly can into dependency, and that's how you control and take over their lives. It sounds crazy. That's their objective. Let me tell you one last thing about the control situation. I spoke to Chuck Schumer at length, by the way, at length. What he ultimately wanted, this is important for your viewers. We're talking to maybe some of the, I would say, moderate people that are out there and saying, well, no, they just wanted reforms to ICE. Republicans would agree to reforms. Patently false. Chuck Schumer told me flat out, he doesn't care about the reforms. He wants to eliminate immigration enforcement other than our exact border. He wants a sanctuary nation. For them, it's illegals above American citizens all the time. So just make certain that we understand what we're fighting for. It's very frustrating, but the one power we have that we should never take for granted is the power to go out and vote and make our voice heard. We still have a primary. Make your voice heard in a primary. Even though you think maybe a candidate or two may not win or this guy's, up against a machine, go out and vote. The surest way you can make a difference is by voting. And by the way, this is going to be historically low turnout. Your one vote and rallying your friends could actually swing an election in your favor. So do not give up that responsibility under any circumstances.
Yeah, very well said, and a very important message. And what's just as important is these primary votes. Okay, we think about that the big fight is in November, and it is to an extent. But if we don't have the right fighter in November because we screwed it up in May, we're in trouble here. We've got to get the right people in the right positions here. So to that end, I'm going to ask you, and I really don't like to put you on the spot. You've been so gracious with your time with me and so supportive, and I appreciate that. But there's a race that my listeners and viewers, I went on to my social media last night and I asked my paid supporters in particular, if you had one question to ask Senator Moreno tomorrow, what do you want me to ask him? And a number of them have said, ask him if he will endorse and support Marcel Sturbich for Secretary of State. You know as well as anybody the danger that we're in if we don't get the SAVE Act passed, okay? We need to safeguard America's elections. We need to make sure that only eligible voters vote. We've got problems with Ohio's elections. We do, and it's more than just that. One guy has been just singular laser lock focused on this for the last 2 years, and that's Marcel Sturbich. And Robert Sprague has been doing a fine job as treasurer. He's bounced around and hoped to be governor, hoped to be lieutenant governor, and now it's okay, I'll settle for this job. And he hasn't offered a whole lot of it to anybody here. Senator Moreno, my listeners overwhelmingly support Marcel Sturbich, and they are asking me to press you for an endorsement, or at least ask you if there may be one forthcoming.
Well, look, I've talked to Marcel at length. I think he's a good man. He was a fierce supporter during my primary, during my general election. I think he's somebody who, in his heart and soul, cares about making certain that we have secure elections. I think he's taken the time to really understand the system. I think the challenge he has is he's got to bring people together, because ultimately, Bob, what you got to do is you have to have a plan to win, and you have to win the general election as much as you have to win the primary. I've tried to stay away from divisive primaries and divisive elections because, again, we need to keep the coalition together. And now I did endorse Jay Edwards because when Jay supported me and supported JD and I encouraged him to run for statewide office. And we said, if you do, we'll endorse you. We didn't know what he was going to run for. I think he'll do a great job as treasurer, which is why he has my total complete endorsement. In terms of Marcel, I think, he's a good man. Here's what I would tell your listeners who want me to endorse him. At this point, the most important thing you can do is get every single human being you know and spread the word. It makes a difference. Look, in my primary, Bob, Mitch McConnell spent $4.5 million against me. He actually put $4.5 million on TV to support Matt Dolan instead of myself, and yet I beat Matt Dolan by 18 points. Now, what I would say is that was a turnout of like 2.5 million votes. This could be a fifth of that. This could be 500,000-600,000 total votes in the primary. You go out and get and rally people to tell them why you care so much. Unfortunately, it's decently down on the ballot. It's not like it's governor or senator. It's down further on the ballot. And some people the drop off is pretty amazing. So for every one person that votes for governor, you may only have, for every 10 people that vote for governor, you only have maybe 2 that will vote for Secretary of State, because they just don't know who the person is. So go out there and get the word out there. Knocking on doors, making phone calls makes a difference. That's the most important thing. And to Marcel, I'd say this: he's got to work. If he's going to win and he's going to be our candidate, which I would support him being our candidate. I would support Robert Sprague being our candidate. I think either one will do a good job, but Marcel's got to, and Robert, both of them have got to get the party united. We cannot be a split team going into the fall. Allison Russo would be objectively a total and complete disaster. We can't let that happen. So if you're on Team Marcel, go out and make phone calls today. Go out and put yard signs today. Go out and send emails today. Go out and put out Facebook posts today. That's what you got to do.
That's fair, and that's a great answer. And by the way, I think Robert Sprague will do a fine job too if he's the guy. I think he'll do a competent job. I think Marcel would do a superior job, is kind of the reason for my pressing on this as well. But thank you. It's a very diplomatic and fair answer. Super quick, since we're talking about primary races, this isn't a primary race because Senator Husted, of course, is the incumbent senator. But you posted yesterday about a poll, I think, that showed Senator Husted defeating the guy you defeated already, Sherrod Brown, by a pretty hefty margin, leading by 8 or 9 points or something like that. Do you just want to give something out there to let people know how important it is to get out there and support? We need to have 2 Republican senators from Ohio and stay there.
Well, I'll just make it even simpler. If John Husted loses in November, the Democrats will control the United States Senate. That's just a fact. There is no doubt about that. Ohio is the firewall, which is why Senate Leadership Fund is investing so much money in Ohio. By the way, John Husted is a good guy. He's doing a good job. And compare that to Sherrod Brown, that's not even a question. Don't even have any more conversation with that. Sherrod Brown coming to the United States Senate would be an abject disaster. He's Chuck Schumer's lapdog. He'll do exactly what Chuck Schumer tells him to do. Don't take my word for it. Look what he did for 18 years when he was in the Senate. Look what he did for 12 years. Yeah, so the facts are there. This is not Bernie prognosticating. They just look at what he did when he was in Washington, D.C. John Husted will do a good job. John Husted will be America first. And more importantly, John Husted losing means that Democrats will blow up the filibuster, impeach President Trump, and this country will go into a spiral like we've never seen. So we got to go out there and vote for John Husted. The most important thing we can do is to save the Senate. It's always about Ohio, Bob. As you know, in national politics, it's always Ohio. My race was the most important Senate race last cycle, not because I was in it, because it meant that we got the majority. I won, we got the majority. John Husted loses, we lose the majority. It's our firewall. Please, I beg you, every single one of you, go out and vote for John Husted and show him some love in the primary. Go out there and fill that box in, even though he's unopposed. Show that you're going to be out there in November, because I'll tell you, the lunatics will be out in droves. I have people that protest in front of my office every Wednesday. Bob, I was at the office the other day on a Wednesday because we were obviously on recess. I picked up the phone. The guy goes, I'm out here every Wednesday. I go, you know, I'm in D.C. on Wednesdays, but I'm not there today because we're on recess. But I'm not sure what your point is of being out there every Wednesday. The guy could not articulate to me why he was protesting. Why? Because he's making $22 an hour from George Soros to stand in front of my office.
Yep, that's exactly right. And Senator, I'm glad you said what you said about Husted and about controlling the majority, because I think John Husted's doing a fine job. He's not nearly as high profile as you. He's not out there doing as many, leading as many charges and campaigns and so forth as you are. But he's newer, obviously, and he will get there. But really, really important to not just say, I'm going to go out there and vote for him. And I know we don't all have extra money right now because of, again, the pinch with respect to gas prices and cost of goods because of diesel and so forth. But if you've got a few bucks to throw to candidates, support John Husted so that he can remind everybody what he is and what Sherrod Brown was. We all learned, because you ran such a great campaign 2 years ago, we all learned and were exposed to what Sherrod Brown really was. He's the same guy. And that's extraordinarily important for us to make sure that he stays out and that we keep that majority. Senator, one more on a local level here, because this should be a national story. I don't know that it really is yet. Are you familiar with Ashley McTaggart and the Parma School Board?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I figured you would be, but my listeners, again, I'm trying to talk to your constituents who are my listeners and viewers, and they wanted me to ask that question of you. Is there anything that can be done from your seat other than maybe just a voice, your voice saying something about the importance of not punishing heroes who volunteer for our armed forces by stripping away their duly won elected seats that they won't be able to fill while they're serving?
It's a disgrace. I can't even believe this conversation is even happening, to be honest with you. And the people who made that decision need to reverse course and apologize today. I mean, this is something that, Bob, if this goes through, we will do everything in our power to make certain that the people who allow that to happen never see public office again. That will be a personal mission of mine. This is a total disgrace. So I would say anybody watching, call the people who are in charge of making this decision. Let them know. You will hold them accountable. And if that person or people making that decision are listening, I will tell you, I'm going to be in the Senate for 5 more years. I will make it my personal mission to make sure you're never anywhere near elected office.
Yeah, and there is a proposal by Tom Patton, I believe, to change state law to say anybody who is serving and who is called into active duty and can't be or even if they're reservists and they can't be somewhere they're supposed to be at a given time on a weekend or something, that they can't be held, that can't be held against them, because there's nothing more honorable than serving this country and our armed forces. And the idea that somebody would hold that against them is simply incomprehensible.
Yeah, what I'm going to do, Bob, is actually you inspired me this morning. I'm going to see if I'm going to check with my team this morning and see if it's possible to maybe talk to the governor and have him do an executive order to get this handled quickly. I think this is something that we just got to get this done. It's been too long. I've been watching and I thought, oh, this is just it's so ridiculous, honestly. I thought this will just solve itself, and it hasn't. So we need to do that. I will get on the phone with the governor after I talk to my team, see if it's possible, and see if we can make that happen.
I love that. And I'm so glad I brought it up then, because I knew you would be a man of action, which is what you have been. Senator, thank you. Super quick scale of 1 to 10, the likelihood that we meet President Trump's deadline. He says, I want it on my desk by the end of May, June 1st. I want that reconciliation bill in front of me so we can fund our ICE agents and our CBP agents and so forth for 10 years, like you're talking about, repeal all those appropriations that the Democrats wanted, everything that you mentioned. 1 to 10, confidence level that it'll be on his desk by June 1.
10, no question about it. We will get it done. We're all heading back to D.C. today. We're going to work until we get there. And believe me, we're not leaving until we get that done. It's going to be done before June 1st, for sure.
Boom. 10 out of 10, says Senator Bernie Moreno. Senator, thank you. Thanks for sharing that information with me as you did on Saturday. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your time this morning as always. We'll talk soon, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. There you go. Senator Bernie Moreno. Absolutely amazing. Love that. Love that. Rather than wait for it to go through the snail's pace of legislation in the Ohio GA, Senator Moreno says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to call the governor. I'm going to talk to the team to make sure it's something I can do, but I'm going to call the governor and say, hey, Mike, do something right for a change. I'm paraphrasing here. These are my words if I were calling him. Hey, Mike, do something right for a change. Eliminate the need for this bill. Just issue an EO. And it should be unopposed, honestly, even by left-wing Democrats, unopposed, that any Ohio elected official from local to state, any Ohio elected to federal, I guess, we just blanket it all the way up, Ohio representatives or congressional representatives from Ohio. But any elected official from local all the way up through federal from our state, if they're if they're reservists and they get called into active duty and they can't be at committee hearings and meetings and so on and so forth, they don't lose their jobs. You can't touch them. Issue that EO, Mike DeWine. I love that. And you know what? Knowing Senator Moreno the way I've gotten to know him over the last few years really, he'll do it. He'll do it, and he'll exert whatever influence he can to make that happen, which is absolutely necessary. All right. We went right from Jonathan Broadbent into Bernie Moreno, so I didn't get a chance to say a whole lot to the chatters today. What is the status of the Save America Act? Well, it's the same status it was before. We don't have anywhere nearly enough Democrat support. We're still in a situation with the filibuster rules. And the filibuster says that we can't end debate and have an actual vote with a simple majority unless 60 out of the 100 agree to end debate. And the Democrats, we need 7 of them, and we don't have them. We put them on the spot, make them argue as to why they want illegal aliens to be able to register to vote. Put them on the spot, make them argue as to why nobody should have to prove who they say they are with an actual photo identification. Put them on the spot, make them defend their ridiculous Jim Crow 2.0 arguments, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't move them. And it doesn't move their voters because they've been gaslit into believing all of that nonsense. So the SAVE Act, securing American voter eligibility, the SAVE Act is still sitting there in limbo. It's a shame. It really is. All right. Don't have a ton of time here, unfortunately. It looks like we had a troll up there that had to be blocked. Okay. Blocked. So to our unfiltered insiders, don't forget, we've got an event tonight. The time and location have been already sent out to each of you. We hope to see you there tonight for a little social activity and also to talk a little bit about strategy going forward and what you would like to see. So all of my unfiltered insiders, which are paid supporters in the locals community, thank you. God bless you guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tonight at our time and place. If you would like to be with us tonight and going forward into other events as well, become a paid supporter. Go to the locals community. Just click the join button. If you're watching on Rumble right now, go to the locals community, become a member, which is totally free, become a paid supporter and unfiltered insider, and you'll be able to join us for events like these and have the other special perks that go along with it, which, by the way, are still being rolled out too. All right. That's all the time that we've got, though. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Senator Moreno. Thank you to Jonathan Broadbent. Think, by the way, conservatives, very hard about whether or not you could contribute as a state central committee member, because those vacancies are unacceptable. If we're going to win, we have to win, starting with precinct strategy and at the grassroots ground level. All right. Think about that, if you would, please. So thanks to them and thanks to you. Be well, be safe, and stay free. We will see you tomorrow. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, that bell notification, so you can see when we drop new material, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.